Johnston here.
Grillo here.
Clark here. Kavich here.
Guzikowski here. Corral here.
Super here.
Chandler here.
If you could all please take a look at the minutes from November 28th. Present here?
I was here not to make the motion, so Johnston's here to approve the minutes of the November 14th, 2017 meeting.
Seifert seconds.
Johnston, aye.
Roll call.
Grillo, aye.
Clark, aye. Kavich abstains.
Guzikowski, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay, moving right along. Carrie, can you give us significant actions of the Common Council?
Council approved the following: an ordinance rezoning the property at 8142 South 6th Street from B4 Highway Business to LM1 Light Manufacturing, a resolution approving a certified survey map for iDrexel LLC, iCap Development LLC for the properties at 410 and 500 West Drexel Avenue, a resolution establishing various fees, permits, and charges by the City of Oak Creek, an ordinance repealing and recreating Section 6.26 sub D sub 6 of the Oak Creek Municipal Code regarding permit term for sidewalk area dining facilities, and held action on an ordinance to rezone the properties at 410 and 500 West Drexel Avenue from M1 Manufacturing to B4 Highway Business until an amendment to the comprehensive plan is completed. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Before we start, our longtime commissioner, Commissioner Walter Dickman, has resigned. His last meeting was actually last month. Wally served this commission for 30 years. Prior to that, he did 10 years on parks. That is really saying something about dedication to the city of Oak Creek. And on behalf of the city, the council, all planning commissioners, past and present, I'd like to thank him for the direction he gave the city, his experience, his wisdom. He will be greatly missed, so we will be looking to appoint somebody in the near future. Moving on, new business. 5A is a certified survey map submitted by Bradley Schmidt, dividing the property at 810 East Oakwood into 2 residential lots. Carrie?
The request is to divide the property that is highlighted in red on the screen into 2 single-family residential lots. It is currently 1, and there is an existing structure on it that will be demolished or removed from the property. All other buildings will either be removed or have been removed. Each lot following division would conform to the requirements of the RS3 single-family residential zoning district. There is a driveway access on Shepherd Avenue that encroaches on the lot to the north that will have to be removed or relocated in conformance with local requirements. That means that it would have to be resited no closer than 40 feet to an intersection. There are also lot averaging and corner lot requirements per code that would be applied during building permit review. One item is missing from the CSM, and that is a bearing and length description within the legal description and surveyor certificate on sheet 2. That will have to be updated and revised prior to recording the map. If the Plan Commission feels that the CSM is appropriate, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Bradley Schmidt for the property at 810 East Oakwood Road be approved subject to conditions 1 through 3. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Before we start out, Mr. Schmidt's here. Would you like to approach and kind of fill us in on your plan or anything?
Yeah, it's
name
Brad
it,
Schmidt,
name it.
7981 South 20th Street, Oak Creek, or 810 East Oakwood. I guess on that one too. Yeah, it's just a single family lot. All buildings are gone, demoed, sheds, house. It's all gone, so it's an empty lot right now. The driveway, I noticed that, and you just said that about the driveway. The driveway for that lot will come off of Shepherd. It is currently off of Oakwood, so I would be getting rid of that. And I guess I have a couple questions on that as well. for the commission. 40 feet for the driveway, and it says street intersection. It's a 30-foot side setback to a corner. Is that 40 feet from the lot, 40 foot from the lot line, or is it from the actual intersection itself?
I'm going to defer that to,
40 feet along the lot line.
So we're going for a 40-foot, so corner was 30 and then another 10 feet for the driveway. So you're almost, if that corner would be the garage, then your side setback would be 40, I would assume, because if, driveway would be on that side. Or flip-flop and have the driveway come off.
The south lot has an existing drive coming off Oakwood. I don't know
Right.
how you're looking at positioning that house on there.
That is going to face Shepherd.
Both of them will face
Both
Shepherd.
face Shepherd, correct. I was dealing with an issue with the front setbacks for the depth of the southern lot. The neighbor to the east has a 50-foot setback, so for that lot averaging, I would have to be so far back with the house that it would really shrink lot one. So I think as far as how it would look, both coming off of Shepherd would be the best. There's a row of hedges to the east lot line that would block the neighbors. So I just, all in all, I think that's the best way the houses will fit the best that way too.
Yeah, we can work with you on the layout of that driveway. Obviously, for safety concerns and everything else, we like to keep the driveways as far away from the intersection as we can. If there's any turning movements or stopping movements there, we don't have a driveway to contend with as well. For the property on the north side, that existing driveway that comes out there, that kind of crosses the property line now, so that
Gone.
that needs to be in conformance when that house is built.
Right. I think that there's no, short of the side setback on that lot, the northerly lot, that's just a 10-foot, the side setback. Okay. And then, yeah, that's not really, it's kind of just been driven over a lot. So, yeah, I'm not going to use that. But other than that, the driveway that's currently there coming off of Oakwood, as far as demo of that driveway, it's pretty much gone with the demo of the house, but the culvert's still there. Is that my responsibility in the right-of-way to remove that? Okay. For this to be recorded, is that going to have to be completed, or can we do that when we start construction?
If it's not totally demolished now, meaning that the ditch is still flowing, and that's not impeding that water flow in that ditch, we can do that with the house construction.
With
Have
the
that
building
removed
permit?
Yeah.
Make a note maybe of
Yeah.
things got to be taken out before, okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's not, no, the culvert's in place.
That would not be a condition of the CSM approval, by the way.
Great. As far as the second note with finally, the CSM is missing a bearing and length description with the legal description, surveyor certificate on sheet 2. I did forward over an updated survey. Was that corrected? It was not? Great. So, I guess,
So that'll have to be corrected before it gets recorded.
okay.
So it doesn't have to be corrected before it goes to council, but it will have to be corrected before you submit it back to us for signatures and so that it can be recorded at the county.
Okay.
So you have some time.
Is there any way is that what I submit to my surveyors, that this exact sentence?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's all I got.
okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? While he's up here.
Pretty cut and dry.
Please approach. We'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Debbie Dane, 840 East Oakwood, so we are just east of the said property. Just curious if they know, will it be single or two-story home or one-story homes? Do you know? Two ranches?
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no more questions or comments, motion? Or do you got something, Pat?
Earl moves the commission recommends to the common council that the certified survey map submitted by Bradley Schmidt for the property at 810 East Oakwood Road be approved, subject to the following conditions. One, that the existing driveway crossing the northwest portion of Lot 1 is removed, relocated in conformance with all applicable requirements of the municipal code as part of the building permit process. Two, that all proposed new residential structures are sited in accordance with the average front setback requirements of section 17.0604 and the corner lot requirements of section 17.0605. Three, that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Bigelow, aye.
Clark, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye. Crowley.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Great. Thank you. That will bring us to item 5B. It is a request by Jim Flowers of Enterprise Rent-A-Car for 1,300-gallon above-ground gasoline fuel reclaim tank on the property at 561 West College.
Property is highlighted in red on your screen. This is the property that currently has the Enterprise Rent-A-Car facility. This is a certified survey map showing that those properties were combined at one time. There were three. Also shows that there are wetlands on the property. However, the site plan, which is now on your screen, which has been updated and was submitted to the Plan Commission via email this morning, does show that this location is not within any area that is encumbered by a wetland. They are required to locate this tank at least 50 feet from the property lines per state requirements. There are other state requirements that they will have to follow. It is within the center of the parking lot that is at the rear of the property now, so it's no longer on the east side of the property that would be closest to the MATC access point there. There is a requirement per the fire department for state review and approval, as well as spill containment features that need to be evaluated by the city. So in addition to those state requirements, they do have some local requirements that also have to be met and reviewed by the fire department before this can move forward. If the Plan Commission feels that this request is appropriate, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission approves site plans for one above-ground fuel storage tank on the property at 561 West College Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. We do have a few people wishing to speak on it. I'll go in no particular order. Mr. Arden Dagner, please.
Arden Degner, excuse me, 8540 South Pennsylvania Avenue. I have a question in regard to this survey plot. That is West College Avenue, a county road, but do they require sidewalks on county roads? And if not, I would like to request that along College Avenue so that the access would be provided for any pedestrians trying to, and workers from Howell Avenue to access this property.
Brian, you want to address sidewalks?
When this business went in, the sidewalks were extended along College Avenue to accommodate that.
It will what?
The sidewalks were already extended
Yeah.
when this went in originally in, what was that, 2013?
Oh, the sidewalk is already
Yes.
in place. I know it. There's no indication of that on this map, though. So thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Keen.
Hi, my name's Keen Keel. I'm at 513 West College. I have concerns with a fuel tank there, being that there's no fire hydrants in the area. And we've had nothing but issues since Enterprise has moved in there. They agree with a lot of things that they're going to improve and take care of, and nothing's been done, including garbage, noises, unloading trucks throughout the night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I just want to express my concerns with any added responsibilities with this company. And what's going to hold them to what they say they're going to do. Because I've complained to everybody and no one seems to do anything about it. So
Interesting.
I went up and down the chain. I talked to common council members. I even got police departments involved because there's constant car alarms. There's horns blowing. The mulch underneath the fence has settled, so all the garbage blows underneath the fence. I'm constantly picking up garbage, enterprise rental, flyers, just trying to keep everything nice and neat around there. If you drive down MATC's road and you look in the woods, you can see all the garbage in the trees blowing from that parking lot.
Right.
And that wetlands goes right up to the end of that parking lot. And it's all sloped. There's no drain. So if there is a spillage, that's going to go right into the wetlands there. I don't know how much you guys looked into that.
Well, they go by fire department specs for an above ground tank. They have to meet state standards, and I'm sure there's curbage. Brian, if you want to chime in, I know Mike from the fire department was working with the applicant to meet all state. Basically, they have to meet state inspections whenever they do underground or overhead tank or above ground tanks. And I believe with the above ground tanks, they have to be curbed and contained.
Another concern is the quality of employees they have there. They're pretty reckless. And having gas on the premises is, I own both the properties, 513 and 531. I'm kind of concerned about that.
Understandably. Yeah.
The applicant here?
I don't know if the next speaker is or not.
He's my tenant.
Oh, okay.
He rents the house that I own next to my house
Okay.
that I live in.
Well, we'll have the applicant see if they can come up and address these. We'll get all the concerns and then we'll see if they can clear up.
I mean, I've talked to the owner of the property. I've talked, you guys all look new. I don't recognize anybody here, but nothing seems to get ever accomplished. So that's about it.
I've been on Common Council for 3 years now, and if you brought concerns in the last 3 years, we've not seen anything at the council level. So I don't know if you send emails or
Well, I've
mail
talked to
or-
my alderman.
Okay.
I mean, and they tell me, well, you got to call the police department. Well, I don't want. They have more important things than deal with that stuff. And the police department says I have to talk to all. Everybody's pointing the finger at the other,
Okay.
and nothing gets accomplished.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Dave? Come on up.
Well, Dave Kamasa at 531 West College. Like I said, like Keen said about everything settling, I have 3 2x10s, 10-foot long, along the back fence to keep the garbage from blowing underneath the fence. If you want to come take pictures, take pictures. The car haulers that come in, drivers get out, drop the ramps, hook them up, drag the chains across the ramps. It wakes you up at night. It echoes. If they should be on the west side of the parking lot, not next to my house. The diesel smell. They wasn't supposed to park any cars along the fence or trucks. There's nothing there now, but all summer long, I had to close my windows because of the diesel smell. Okay, no, like Keen said, reckless drivers. Somebody backed into the fence, knocked the center horizontal bar loose, knocked out a panel. Needs to be fixed. They didn't say nothing to their employers. Putting that tank in above ground is going to be an accident waiting to happen.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Applicant, you here? Come on up. We do have a list of concerns here. They're not on the agenda, okay? But again, as long as they've opened that can of worms, I mean, we are going to address them as a city going forward. So you're going to have to answer up and see if you can satisfy us on that portion. But just keep in mind that the agenda item is for the fuel tank, okay? Okay.
Absolutely.
Name and address, please.
Sure. I'm Jim Flowers with representing Enterprise Rent-A-Car. The site that we're looking for the proposed above-ground fuel tank is at 561 West College Avenue in Oak Creek. So I appreciate the concerns that were brought to the Common Council regarding our site. We definitely take any of our neighbor concerns very seriously. We have changed the operation on site within the past roughly 12 months. We used to have our airport operation out of there. Now we have some administrative support there along with a truck rental division. So some of the concerns with noise, et cetera, we have diligently tried and also have worked with our employees and also anyone coming on site to avoid alarms, panic alarms, such as things like that. In regards to the fuel tank, I will say we are working with our installer that is certified with the state of Wisconsin. They did bring to us the requirements that the state does require for putting this in: fire, safety, proper operation. So with the new proposed layout where we're looking, we do satisfy all the codes and making sure it's within the proper distances from our property line as well as the building. As far as safety and security and spill protection, everything we're putting in place, we're meeting that and exceeding that. So I do just want to let everyone know that the purpose for this tank is for on-site. What we do is vehicles that are ready to be sold are going to, they do get stored there, they're processed, and then once they are sold, they move out. So what we're going to be doing there, we're not going to have fuel deliveries. We're essentially taking our used vehicles, what we call reclaiming that fuel out of the vehicle into the tank, and then reusing that for brand new vehicles that are being delivered as well. So there is no fuel deliveries that will occur. Any fuel that comes in there is coming out of a vehicle itself. All the safety equipment that we are putting in there is to ensure that we do not have a spill. If there was to be a spill, which given how this system will be set up, it would be minimal at most, and anything that we would have there, spill kits, training, et cetera, should easily be able to contain that, as well as we meet the Wisconsin requirements for those spills that may occur. If there are any other questions, I'd like to take them.
Questions from the commission? Fred?
Yeah. How did you pick the location of putting this tank on the east side where the homes are just next to you rather than going on the west side of the property?
May want to take a look at the new proposed location on the monitor.
Oh, I'm still looking at.
Yeah, it threw me too.
My apologies. Okay.
And just to reiterate, the reason for the change was to meet the minimum setback from our property line, which is 50 feet, as well as the minimum setback from our building itself. The placement also, we thought this was very crucial, is our employees would be closer to the building. If for some reason we had an emergency in place, it would be a quicker way for them to obtain the ability to call 911, et cetera, if something did occur. So that's another reason we did want to get it closer to the building, but also to the center of the property as well.
And also away from the houses, to Fred's point, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope that would be a consideration.
Yes, absolutely.
That was my concern, is the home. I have another question. Can you explain the spill containment type features that you have for this tank?
Sure. This tank is actually designed as a double wall tank. So if you can think of it as a box inside of a box. And it's designed that if over time, if the initial tank did leak, it actually has a containment in there. So it actually containing any leaking in there. And it also has a leak detection probe, if you will. So if something is leaking inside of that tank, it's actually going to notify us with a visual alarm, if you will, because we are required to do monthly and also weekly inspections on that tank as well for normal operation. Also within the leak protection, any pumps that are on this tank, no, there's 2 pumps. One pump will actually create a suction which draws the gasoline out of our used vehicles into the tank. And then there is a filling pump where we actually want to dispense into a brand new vehicle. If there was an emergency, we are required to have an emergency shut-off switch, just like you would see at a gas station down at the corner in your local area, where it'll shut down all the pumps immediately from dispensing or sucking fuel at any time. The amount of fuel that we're dealing with is minimal. If you would think that you're filling up your car, maybe at most 10 to 15, maybe 20 gallons into a car, you must be present and active there as you are engaging in filling that vehicle or defueling that vehicle. If a spill did occur, we would have actual spill kits. So it's a contained kit that allows us to contain any spill with they call it a SOC, a containment boom sock that they can immediately place down to stop any leaking or drawing gasoline on the ground, as well as absorbent pads that they can throw down right away as well to contain any spill that might occur. There's another part of this as well as crash protection. Obviously, we're dealing with vehicles. If a vehicle did, for some reason, was out of control or drove too fast and could not stop, we're required to have concrete bollards, essentially a crash protection post around that tank to make sure that a vehicle cannot get through that and hit the tank itself. So those are a few things that we are required to put in that we will definitely put in for the system.
Is this tank also protected so that nobody can drive into it or hit it?
Yeah, that's where the concrete bollards would come into play. It also butts up right against, there's actually a fence line that divides that parking lot. So there's a fence as well as we would have the concrete bollards that come up to actually stop any truck or any type of vehicle from being able to hit it or the equipment. Yeah.
Anyone else? Chelsea?
I have a question. I may have missed it. Did you address the residents' concerns?
I would like to add, on top of that, beyond the fuel tank request here as well, I am going to take all of the concerns back tomorrow, and we'll address those as well. The trash is very concerning. If there is an issue, and I know an open space like that, definitely wind can pick up trash and blow it. We definitely want to be a great neighbor to them and clean up any of that, and also try to prevent anything from getting underneath that fence, because I have been there on site myself many times checking out the operation. As for smells, anything like that, concerns with transport trucks that do come in, we have a direct communication with them to make sure that they're aware of where we are operating. We do have neighbors next door, and the fact that they do unload at nighttime. We do set parameters of when we are open and when they are allowed to unload. So I will say we do not allow them to unload 24 hours a day. We have a set time. So we will definitely be communicating with them to make sure that they're operating within that unloading time.
We ask what that time is. That was my question.
Sure. We open up right around 7 a.m. and then we close down at 5 p.m. for deliveries.
So your understanding is we shouldn't have any night?
We should not have any night deliveries, no.
Seems kind of, I mean,
Yeah,
we're not there, but it
like
seems
it's
like
happening.
there's a problem.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think we need to address that for sure, without a doubt, through
Right.
a meeting with the manager or somebody from Enterprise, along with the city representative, to find out if our neighbors are saying
Right.
1, 2 in the night. I don't imagine they're making this stuff up. So.
Yeah.
Do you ever, do you record on your property cameras?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Mayor, I guess my question would be, well, I just struggle with allowing everything's to code on the gas tank itself. We follow all the rules and regulations. I don't have as many concerns. I have concerns with allowing a change in operations to someone that may or may not be following what's needed. So I guess I'd like to see some assurances that allowing more operation, that's to me sounds like more hands-on noise issues, gas, smells, whatever, on top of what's already a problem. How are we going to address that? And will the neighbors have some type of contact to someone at Enterprise that can be held accountable? Not the police department, not the city. I think Enterprise has got to get some type of relationship with those neighbors.
I would agree with you. I mean, I've been here since 13. I was here when this went in. And we did put conditions and restrictions down. What they exactly were, I don't remember, but obviously they're not being followed. And we have to correct that, probably first and foremost. I do agree with Chris. I've been here, and it wasn't my district prior to me being mayor, or as a mayor, I've never heard the complaints until tonight. But it is kind of disturbing because these really have an impactful part of what's going on in your everyday life there, because these cars are coming and going. So I really would like to work this out. I kind of agree with Pat. Going forward and allowing more things to happen before we have control of what should be happening may not be the prudent thing to do.
I really don't want to hold it up. I don't have a problem with the actual added activity. I just want to know how we're going to, it sounds like there's been an ongoing problem to some degree.
I think maybe you can help me out, Pete.
Yes, I have. We've addressed the issues that the resident has brought up. Enterprise has complied. We have closed out the issues that have been arisen about the mulch under the fence. They brought more mulch, and now has the mulch eroded since 2 years ago? Maybe we have to address it, but Enterprise has dealt with that. They have posted signs saying do not use vehicle alarm fobs to locate vehicles in the parking lot. They have taken steps to address those concerns. Now, if they've come back up again, I haven't heard any complaints, but we have been approached by these complaints. Enterprise has addressed them. We did close them out. We have gone through that. So if now they're coming back on again, then we'll address it as a brand new case, but Enterprise has been dealing with these issues.
It's just a question of that, so I understand. You're stating that there really is zero operations after 5 o'clock.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dried if there's nothing after 5 o'clock.
The only thing I'd like to add is vehicles from our airport operation, which are open till about roughly 11 p.m. each day, may drop off a vehicle later that night that is being stored there. Now, that might occur every once in a while, cars that just get dropped off, but there shouldn't be any activity within the building at that point. So to say there's no activity, that would be incorrect. But if I may add, I would just like to add with our neighbors that I can approach them as well after the meeting. I can extend my contact information. I do operate out of our administrative building for the state of Wisconsin and can rightfully jump on with our managers and area managers to address any concern they may have right away with the team. As I have heard of other concerns in the past regarding noise from our airport operation that used to be there. I haven't heard about it so much as now, that it might not have come from that field level up to us, but I would just like to extend that communication channel from myself to them tonight.
You feel that the current operation there should be less intrusive to neighbors than
I would
what you
definitely,
had?
I would definitely hope so. We used to have much longer operating hours, weekend hours as well. It has been cut back drastically. I can definitely say for sure the transport companies that are coming on site, I will not sugarcoat it. There are times when they do not listen to our, hey, you can only deliver during these hours. They do come on their own schedule at nighttime. Unfortunately, hearing that they came at 2 a.m. is concerning to me. Because we do have our residents right next door. And it can be loud. I've experienced it. I've worked in that field before, seeing them unload, and it can be noisy at times. So we'll definitely jump on that right away.
Tony. I guess my only question to that, I think giving them some contact helps, is Pete, are you a contact versus the police department if they feel things are getting away from them? I don't know how that
The
should
issue is
work.
when the 2 a.m. complaints, the PD is the one that is the go-to because I'm not working at 2 a.m. So I can't verify those complaints, but that's why we have told the residents to contact the PD when those events do occur. And I have not received a complaint in the last year regarding it. I know the resident was very frustrated with staff in trying to get, this site to be less of a nuisance, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And so we have, tried to work with Enterprise to get things to happen. I believe, if I recall correctly, there was an issue with cleaning of cars. The car wash and stuff that was happening late at night. Enterprise did say that they were going to make sure staff was aware that, yes, we should be ending our operations, even if, outside taking cars, parking them in the back is done, even inside operations should be ceasing.
Employees' cars need to be washed too.
Thanks.
If I may add to that, when we did change over our operation, we used to have an automated car wash in the building. We no longer have that since we do not operate the long hours or the fleet that comes through there. The amount of employees that we have on site has drastically been reduced because we did move the airport operation away. There was one concern about the level and stature of our employees that are working out of that location. So I will say that no operation out there has perfect people working for them. So if there is a concern, it's really important we hear that and we can help try to rectify that when we do have a good amount of people that are out and about. So we do want to be a great neighbor. Has there been a breakdown of communication? I bet there has in the past, but I'm here to tell you now that I can definitely extend my communication with them and hopefully rectify any future issues. So
Seems too that the type of operations now are better suited for next to a residential houses. So hopefully that and contact information, it's encouraging to me that maybe the resident will now have some resolution here. And, ideally he needs to be able to just deal directly with you. He shouldn't have to call the city. He shouldn't have to call the PD. I mean, this should be, I got a problem, please help me take care of it.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Being a good neighbor.
Yep, I would like to just add, we did just recently within the last 12 months add a fuel operation to our airport operation from Milwaukee, just down the road with the city of Milwaukee. So we are experienced with what we are supposed to be doing for safety-wise, inspection-wise, training for our employees, so that same amount of training, same amount of inspections, all that is going to occur at this site as well. This is a much smaller scale to what we've already done. So I'm confident with our installer that's state approved and also with our training program we have on site that we can make sure we're operating as safely as possible.
Fred?
Can you explain what you do presently to fill the cars and remove the gas? What procedure do you have in place now?
Sure. Essentially, if you could imagine a pump that creates a draw or a suction, almost like when you're drinking a soda out of a straw. We have literally, it's called air brake tubing, which is modified that actually goes in through the filler neck of a vehicle and literally sucks the gasoline right out of the vehicle and into the tank. So is there any fuel that comes out of the vehicle onto the ground? It's incredibly minimal. Everything is going through that line. There's a suction into the tank. That's essentially how they do it. It's an art form, if you can believe it. Not every car is the same on how they're creating these newer cars out there in the industry. So literally, they have different techniques of being able to wind that tubing into the vehicle, if you can believe that it's not just a straight shot into a gasoline tank. It actually makes many, many bends, turns. There's there's rollover devices built into cars now in case a car does flip over. Gasoline cannot come out. So there's different techniques of being able to get the tube in and around that flap, or they call it a rollover ball as well. So it's actually quite a neat process, but it's just part of what we do and trying to reclaim that fuel and reuse it.
Where do you store that gas after you take it out?
It's literally stored inside the tank. The tanks are designed to be storing gasoline or diesel. This is strictly for gasoline. There are proper measures on the tank to stop from any overfilling. There's an overfill alarm. There's the emergency stop button. There's also vent stacks as well built into it. So gasoline creates vapor. It would actually be dissipated up into the atmosphere. And in fact, we have an operation at our administrative building. I've never once smelled gasoline, only if something just dripped out a little bit as they were dispensing into a car. We've never had an issue with smell.
I think Commissioner Seipert wants to know currently today without that tank, how do you get that gas? What are you doing now?
We're literally just going down to the gas station at the corner. There's a Speedway down at the corner there at Howell and College Avenue.
Any other questions? Greg? No? Nothing. So how do we feel about addressing the current issues? I mean, we have to take it up. It's not part of our agenda, but we do want to satisfy the neighbors in some way, shape, or form. So, I mean, we haven't had any complaints lately. Obviously, there's still some issues going on.
I was looking into our case management system that we started back in 2015, and I have no cases regarding that property. Looking into our old PT Win case management system and seeing when was the last time and what were the things that were taken care of. I do recall off the top of my head was the garbage with the mulch not being a gap, so there were headlights that were shining through and bleeding into the two residential houses that are there. There was concerns about the alarms being used to locate vehicles. That they were moving cars in the middle, late at night after 10 p.m. There was a concern with what was the other concerns? There might have been one other one, so I'm trying to look them up right now to see where
Broken
they are.
fence or beat up fence or
Yeah, there's-
fence in need of repair.
Yeah, and so so far, every time I have contacted a representative for that business, they have made steps where we've gone inspected, taken pictures of them having the mulch up against the fence. The fence was in good repair, stuff like that. So we've closed out those complaints. Now, if they've resurfaced again, we're gonna have to address it. But
Mayor,
right now,
can
there
we-
isn't anything on file.
Can we make this as a initial complaint, so with moving forward with this, at least
We can.
Pete's department can,
It has, yeah, it's on record now that it's in the minutes.
I think
So
the resident maybe has other comments.
speak again, sir. Yeah, sure. Come on up.
You gotta
come
be
up
in
to
the mic.
As far as the mulch is concerned, they took, it's Keen Keogh, 513 West College Avenue. They did clean up the part that's alongside the building. They ignored the back section where most of the garbage was coming underneath. As far as the signs with no car or panic alarms, those fell off the fence probably a year and a half ago. I don't know what happened to them, but they didn't listen to that or read it. Or as far as not complaining the last couple of years, I kind of gave up. You kind of look like a jerk after a while. I keep calling, and the same police officer shows up, it's like, you again? It's like they got better things to do.
No, I understand. I get
So
it.
if I could have contact numbers and someone that's actually going to take care of the problems, that's a big step.
I think the applicant was agreeable to that, and I
Because they did get a new manager. They just had kind of an open house with the trucks. I got her contact information, and she was all great. Yeah, just call me. Well, I had a problem. I called her, and she never called me back. So it's the same stuff.
I think we're going one step above.
I hope so.
So, are you satisfied with taking that step? And then again, if you do need additional inspections in the future, please, give us a call during working hours. Pete's usually here from 9 to 4, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever his deal is. Obviously, and that's why it goes to the PD afterwards, because these guys aren't paid 24/7.
Right.
But he will get out there. Pete's a very good zoning inspector. It's a very thankless
Does he have a
job.
card or something I can have?
What's that?
Does he have a card I can have?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I'll give it to
he can
you
get
if,
to
Okay,
So,
cool.
He's very good. It's kind of a thankless job because everywhere he's gone, he's telling people what they can't do. So,
Right.
not the funnest job probably out there.
Also, though, Mayor, it seems like their business model has evolved a bit from
Little-
what they were doing
little
from
bit.
years past, so.
But we
Not
still
really. They still, the biggest thing is the semi trucks unloading the cars. They do it right in the middle of the road. They done it right in front of my bedroom unloading. They have that big parking lot right next door that's far away from everybody that they could pull the truck in there and do all, and no one would probably even hear it.
Gotta be a squeaky wheel, gotta take some pictures.
Yep.
But plus
Just
College
nail it.
Avenue, it's so busy and dangerous with all the students coming right there. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a bad accident one day.
Yeah, and maybe Enterprise may want to look at a designated unloading spot, possibly.
Really?
So,
away from the
All right.
houses.
thanks for bringing it up. I mean, it's
Thank
not
you.
on the agenda, and we're not supposed to consider that because it's not part of the agenda. But it's really important to know this. Otherwise,
I appreciate
we don't have
everything.
knowledge of it. So, all
Thank you.
right, great. Okay, with that, how do we feel about the issue at hand, though, about the tank itself?
I don't think that's the issue.
No.
I think whatever we can do to help the neighbors, but as far as the actual tank,
I would agree with you. Just to give you a heads up, I might have mentioned it. Mike Kresick did send an email. I don't know if he copied the entire commission on it, but I know I was on there. I think Pete, maybe Carrie, I think you were on it too. He is working with the applicants. He didn't have any concerns about the safety aspect of the tank. It's pretty much standard stuff, as they said, the double line tank, all the state specs, the automatic shutoff, leak detection. It all has to be in place. Plus, it's inspected yearly. That's state statute.
And I just want to add that the updated plan will be sent to him as well. Those comments were made prior to the relocation, so that was even considering the previous location on the east side of the property.
One other thing that was brought up was hydrant location. There wasn't a hydrant close. We do not have the fire department here to do it, but and again, I'm not going to speak for the fire department, but it would probably be a hazmat situation. And I don't know if water is the appropriate use with gasoline. I don't know if they use a chemical or a drying agent. Carrie?
There's a spill containment plan that is required, and that will be reviewed by the fire department as well. So whatever they
Bell
need.
said much better than what I was spitting out there.
So whatever is needed in terms of containment and spill prevention and response is going to have to go through both the state and the fire department.
Thank you. Anything else? No? All right, motion.
Earl moves the commission approves site plans for one above-ground fuel storage tank on the property at 561 West College Avenue with the following conditions. One, that all building and fire codes are met. Two, that copies of all state approvals and/or permits are submitted to the city. Three, that all spill containment features are submitted to the city inspection, engineering, and fire departments for review. And four, that stormwater and grading plans as required are submitted for final approval by the engineering department prior to issuance of permits.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lork, aye. Bekavich, aye.
Guzekowski, yeah.
Frell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 5C. Before we move on, please exchange that information and let's take care of the neighbor issue. Appreciate that. Item 5C, plan review. Going to review site and building plans submitted by Chris Nicholson, Zune America Inc. for light manufacturing headquarters on a property located at 8142 South 6th. Carrie.
The request is for approval of a proposed 49,420 square foot headquarters building that will include office space. It will include a demolition area and a demonstration area, and also a small warehouse component. The property was recently rezoned to LM1 light manufacturing, as plan commissioners may recall. No manufacturing of cutting machines is proposed to occur within the facility. Again, this is a headquarters. The service and repair of equipment, demonstrations and testing, office space, and limited warehousing are the primary uses of the facility. The building meets all required setbacks. However, there is a concern right now regarding parking setbacks being insufficient per current LM1 district requirements. I will caution the plan commissioners, however, that there is a text amendment that was recently reviewed by the plan commission to reduce those setbacks in the LM1 district. Should that be approved by council at their meeting next week during a public hearing, then the proposal will meet the new setback requirements for parking, so it would be in conformance. There are 2 loading docks with overhead roll-up doors on the southeastern portion of the property. Since this is a little bit difficult to see on this particular site plan, I will highlight that for you. So the loading dock, if I can get this to work. I can't. Unfortunately, it's over on the southeast corner of the building, so you see where that blue box is. If you move it just a little bit more to the east, that's actually where the loading docks are. So where this driveway comes in off of the current Woodman's access, it goes right into the loading dock area. There are 2 loading docks that will be in that area. So that shared access easement with Woodman's allows for the truck access to that particular portion of the parcel, and that's actually a subject of review on the next agenda item for the Plan Commission's consideration. Besides the access off of the existing Woodman's on the south, there is access to the north as well. There are 9 employee parking stalls that are listed adjacent to the loading dock area on the southeast corner. There's also covered bicycle parking, which is amazing. So thank you to the applicant for adding that. There are anticipated to be 25 employees on site for one shift. They are anticipating a maximum of 35 employees. Again, since this is not a true manufacturing operation, the 35 employees would be mostly office, and then those workers who are doing demonstrations or working on service and repair and testing of the equipment. So access via 6th Street and parking for 100 vehicles is located on the north side of the property, so it's basically the corner of Market Street and 6th. These 100 parking stalls, or a portion thereof, will be available for public parking during non-business hours and on the weekends. For Plan Commission consideration, minimum parking requirements for office in the code require 1 stall for every 250 gross square feet plus 1 stall for each peak shift employee. Also, warehousing requires 1 stall for every 5,000 gross square feet of floor area plus 1 per employee. And repair operations require 1 stall for every 350 gross square feet plus 1 stall for every peak employee. So while the exact calculations for each of the different components of the building is unavailable, about 18,000 gross square feet will be for warehouse uses. That would require about 4 stalls plus 1 for every peak employee. The demo room is about 11,700 gross square feet, and that would be about 33 required parking stalls, and the remaining 19,000 plus square feet, which would be general office area, which again includes such things like restrooms, storage, mechanical areas, training areas, offices, conference rooms, lobby space, and employee break rooms. That would require about 80 stalls per peak employee if we were going just based on gross square footage alone. While all of that sounds like we would be requiring a remarkable amount of parking, keep in mind, again, they're going to be having a maximum of 35 employees on this site. They have had several conversations with staff regarding the requirements for their operation. Again, 35 max employees. It's a unique situation. No manufacturing is going to be done on site. While they will be doing tours and having visitation, again, that's between normal business hours, roughly 7 a.m. to, let's say, 6 p.m. That's giving them a little bit of a buffer. With all of that in mind, staff supported a modification to the parking requirements, which would allow them to have a reduced number of parking stalls on the site and would still serve the purpose for and the needs for the use. The Plan Commission does, per code, have the authority to modify the minimum parking requirements, and that criteria was included in your packet. So if the Plan Commission is comfortable with the total number of stalls based on the information provided and the criteria in the zoning code to allow the Plan Commission to make that modification, we would request that you specify that in your motion. Moving on, ground mechanicals are screened via vertical vegetative screen walls. This is something new for the city to review. That's why staff has actually requested additional information. Per the plans, they are going to be screening the mechanicals that are on the kind of southwest corner of the demonstration area. There's also a mechanical screen wall on the northeast side of the building. So based on what that is, whether it's going to be just a wall that looks like it has ivy on it or something like that, staff asked for more information on that. As a reminder, all ground, building, and rooftop mechanical units must be screened per code. There is one dumpster/generator enclosure with a cedar panel gate, and that's located in the loading dock area. There are no elevations for this, however, the plan notes state that the enclosure will use the same precast concrete wall panel as the building to match. And while they have cedar panel gates mentioned on the plans, As with all wood and gates that have been proposed, staff recommends a more durable material such as composite. Requirements for submitting the details have been listed as a condition of approval in the conditions submitted for Plan Commission consideration, and no outdoor storage has been requested. Landscape plans have also been submitted for the site. They're on your screen. They're a little bit difficult to read. Staff will continue to work with consultants on landscaping amendments as needed. Of course, we do need those details for the screen walls to ensure that those will adequately screen the mechanicals, and we need to make sure that all of the other requirements for landscaping are met. Again, if the Plan Commission is satisfied with the proposed condition, the final landscape plans would be approved by the Director of Community Development. Moving on to the building itself. We'll go elevation by elevation. This is north. This is part of the office and entrance and demo area. So for the office, it would be mostly glass storefront. It's a 1.5, slightly 2-story portion of the building, all glass. The entrance has a trapezoidal concrete entry feature, and inside of that, we'll get to the elevations because this sounds a little interesting, are yellow metal panels. So it kind of draws your attention to where the entrance is. And the demo room has gray geometric cement board panels as the main building material, along with some glass. On the west elevation, we have the continuation of the demo room. So again, that cement board panel with glass. Getting into the south portion of the west elevation, that starts the warehouse, and that's a concrete panel. There are some small windows there with a metal spandrel panel as an accent above a portion of the window. South elevation, that again is showing a portion of the demo room and the warehouse. And then on the east elevation, we have the remainder of the warehouse showing the loading dock, as well as the northern portion of the office space, again, that 2-story element, all in glass storefront. For code, the use of fiber cement products requires a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission, and additionally, code requires that the facade of a manufacturing, commercial, office, institutional, or park building be finished with an aesthetically pleasing material, which requires also a minimum of 75% of the visible perimeter to be finished with an acceptable glass, brick, or decorative masonry material. As always with these types of fiber cement products, it's up to the Plan Commission to determine whether or not that meets the masonry requirement of this code requirement. So if we go on the elevations, the colored renderings, you'll see that trapezoidal entrance feature with the yellow panels on the interior. View from the southeast showing the warehouse area and loading dock. Also the view from the southwest showing that other portion of the warehouse area and demo room. This is what will be seen from 6th Street on the bottom. If anybody has any question about the length of the perimeter, this is surrounded by 6th Street on the west, and it's also Market Street on the north. You'll see that there are a few signs that have been shown on the building. Detailed sign plans will be required for building prior to issuance of any sign permits. There is a section of code that says that single-tenant buildings can install 1 monument sign per street frontage. The plans actually do show 3 monument signs, so either one will have to be eliminated or the applicant will have to submit it for a sign appeal. There were some concerns that were submitted by the utility regarding hydrant placement and coverage requirements. There was also 2 requests for easements, one for the 12-inch public water main on the west, and one to encompass the public sanitary manhole and main running south to the property line. So staff recommends contacting both the utility and the fire department for those requirements. Should the Plan Commission feel that the plans are acceptable, there's a suggested motion that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plans submitted by Chris Nicholson of Zunda America, Inc. for the property at 8142 South 6th Street, subject to conditions 1 through 8. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Lots of information there. Does the applicant wish to say anything before we start with questions? Would you like to come up?
Good evening. My name's Tom Stacy. I'm an architect and senior PM with Epstein Ewan, 333 East Chicago Street in Milwaukee. And just to start, I'd like to thank not only everyone at city leadership, but Carrie and Doug and planning and Brian and engineering for getting us to this point. It's a major milestone for our team, and on behalf of Chris Nicholson, who's here this evening, and Kevin Byrne from Kapoor & Associates here to answer any landscape or civil engineering questions you may have. I just want to say it's as significant as this is for all of us, it's especially significant for the leadership in Switzerland. This is their first building outside of the home country, and it's getting a lot of attention and a significant investment. So we couldn't be happier. Chris and I started this journey in 2014, or maybe it was earlier for Chris, I think. So it's been a long and winding road, but I think as we all talked recently in city offices, I don't think any of us could have found a better project for this particular property in the city. It sort of balances the office and manufacturing to the south. There's a nice, we hope you agree, a beautiful vista from this building. So we're really excited about it and look forward to moving forward. And I would just point out that there are a few things I'll attempt to clarify in a few seconds here. But we're comfortable with all the conditions that are placed on the suggested motion this evening. We fully intend to move those forward and satisfy everybody, especially our client, of course, in the process. So just a quick note about Zund. Some of you may know this already, but Zund was started in 1984 in a small village just off the Austrian border in Switzerland, about an hour and a half train ride from Zurich. And they came to the U.S. in 2004, found a great appetite for their product, if you will, which is if you haven't seen it, you really should. It's fun to watch, even for a layman especially, but high-end CNC machinery that cuts anything other than ferrous metal. So their clients are just such a wide array, and those clients visit and demo the product will demo the product in this building, currently in Franklin, of course. So, as Carrie pointed out, the building's designed really for a maximum of 35 people. I don't foresee 35 people being here on a daily basis because so many of their technicians are flying to and from their customers' locations to either set up equipment, service equipment, troubleshoot. And I will point out that these are highly skilled technical people for the most part. And I think they'll do a great job in the Drexel Town Square whenever they're in town. I'll also mention that, and I think Chris has made this very clear, there are over 600 hotel room nights a year on average. So that's just a great influx of people coming to the community. Timing, our intention is to break ground in spring of next year, which is right around the corner. And we're working with our selected construction partner, Hunzinger Construction, to make that happen. We know we've got a few steps to take, provided we're successful in gaining your approval this evening, but we're aiming for completion by year end. So substantial completion. They'd love to throw their Christmas party in the new building. So it gives you a sense of timing. I know there's some concern perhaps or comments about the cement board panels. But before I go there, just want to point out that we are actually teamed with a firm out of San Francisco called Graf Tolosa. Fabian Graf happens to be a family friend of the Zund family. I think he said he grew up about 10 minutes away from their home. So that's how that relationship started. It's been a really great team, and I think, Brian, I think you might have met Fabian when he was in town recently. So we're working day in and day out to move the project forward, but Epstein Ewan will be the architect of record. We're responsible for the nuts and bolts and everything that gets executed on site. So I personally will be stamping the drawings that get submitted. As it relates to the cement board panel, that's maybe a oversimplified description of that product. This is a thin rain screen product that we've used in a number of applications. In this particular building, it had great appeal to Fabian and the rest of the design team because we were able to create a pattern that reflects what Zune does. They cut and create really amazing things, and we thought that was a nice subtle way to express that on the building. And I did bring along some additional information that, if Carrie, if it's okay, I can leave one with you and maybe give out the rest to the commissioners. So this will give you a little bit, oh, thank you, little clearer. So I don't know that it was part of the plan, but there's a company called Swiss Pearl that makes this product. They are, in fact, based in Switzerland. It's one of the products we're considering for application on a significant portion of the building, very visible portion of the building. We, as architects of record, folks that live in the community and have to drive by our buildings all the time, we are comfortable with the product. We feel it'll stand the test of time. But as I pointed out earlier, it's a rain screen material, which, if you're not familiar with that terminology, the wall system is allowed to contain water and drain it to the base. So the waterproofing membrane is actually behind this product. So numerous buildings are constructed with rain screen technology. In fact, Northwestern Mutual's new headquarters employs that very same technology. So we're very comfortable with this particular product. And as you might imagine, the Swiss Pearl salespeople are already calling us because they know it's a Swiss building owned by some friends of theirs. So hopefully that gives you a little more clarity on what that product is. The remainder of the materials are fairly straightforward. We're looking at a precast panel for the warehouse with a nice surface texture and surface relief. It would be integral color so that it's not something that requires a ton of maintenance. And then the office component, as Carrie pointed out, is fairly standard glass and glazing, very transparent, lots of natural daylight for those who are in the building full time, and even those who, the service techs who make weekly appearances or every other week. So hopefully that helps. A real quick clarification on the landscape screen walls. That's actually plant material. It's organized in a way that it might be read as a wall. Kevin's here to answer any other questions you may have on that, but it's all natural material. It's just there to screen the equipment that inevitably has to land on some portion of the building, normally the street side. So Fabian was, I think, real creative in how to organize that on the west side of the building to be compatible with the architecture and create something that's kind of interesting to look at the same time. The yellow liner within the entry is really a nod to their corporate headquarters in Switzerland. That building, too, has a very pronounced yellow liner on their entry. It's really remarkable. It's beautiful. And it was a kind of a nod to the main headquarters. I mentioned the geometric pattern on the rain screen. Fully appreciate the comments about the gate for the dumpster enclosure and the generator enclosure. Our intention, and it wasn't spelled out clearly, is a steel frame with an infill panel. And whether that's a composite that resembles a cedar or an actual cedar, it wouldn't take the brunt of day-to-day ins and outs of that enclosure. And I know the next, just finally, I won't keep you too long on field questions, but truck traffic, I think, Chris, that's one a day, maybe? One or two a day, very lightly used. It's not a distribution center by any stretch of the imagination. And we've worked very diligently, our colleagues at Kapoor and Chris's legal counsel have worked really hard to get to a cross-access agreement with Woodman's, and I think all thumbs are up on that. We've reached agreement, and a bit more good news. Thursday is a closing on the real estate, provided everything goes well. So anxious to get started, and again, want to thank you for your time and patience and working with us to get this to this point.
Great, thank you. Again, very welcome addition. It has been a long time coming. We started out to make Drexeltown Square unique. I think this definitely fits the definition of unique. So with that, I'm going to open it up to the council for their questions and comments. Fred, you want to start?
Yeah, I like it. It's a good plan. The other thing I like is allowing the city to use your parking lot and the overflow. I think we've got a problem once in a while when we have main events. Parking becomes a big factor, and allowing us to use this or your lot, a nice thing for the city.
I like factor better than problem.
Anyways, I like it.
Pat?
I really like the building. I think of everything we've put in there, it's the most unique, and it fits what could go there. I think it's a great find. I guess my only question, and not to be pessimistic in any way, but with the parking, allowing the less parking than is required for that size, does that go with the property going forward, or is that for that use? In other words, for some reason there was a problem there.
The approval would be for this site plan. So if
As is, got it.
As is. So if the use of the property or anything else on the property were to change, it would come back to the Plan Commission for review
Got it.
again. Now, I will say that if the use changes in the future, there might be some overlap component with Woodman's, and the reason I say that is because there is an agenda item next dealing with parking, mostly for the access, but we would have to address it whenever that use changes. So right now, it's for this specific proposal.
And I don't anticipate any problem. I just want to ask that question because I think it really fills a void of what was going to go there. I was concerned. So it's
I
great,
agree.
great fit.
The public's been asking for a long time, and this has been in the works. And we don't want to jinx ourselves, but it's all working in our favor that way. So, Commissioner Chandler.
I do have a question about materials, so I'm going to start with Curie. So all the materials are compliant except for the cement boards?
Cement board, yes, and I actually have a question regarding the cement panel because with this new information, I'm a little bit confused. I want to clarify, is this a product that is similar to an EFS product?
Tom Stacy again. No. It's a compressed cementitious product, whereas EFS is an applied synthetic over an insulation board, frankly. We actually shy away from that product as much as we can, quite frankly. It's improved, but it's still has kind of a challenge. But the insulation layer is actually concealed by a waterproofing membrane that's invisible to anyone, really, because the cement board is the decorative rain screen. So, whereas EFS, that exterior layer is really the insulation layer as well.
So which part actually incorporates the cement boards? 'Cause the concrete and those boards are all gray, so what portion is which?
The pattern is, it's a good question. The pattern is created just by a color change. and joints in the panel itself.
So are those concrete, is this concrete that we're seeing here?
It's going to look, smell, and feel like concrete, quite frankly. It's a thinner product because it's just a more efficient use of material.
Okay, let me ask the question differently. Can you go to the first?
So what's on your screen that has the very thin windows, that's concrete panel. That's the warehouse portion. The fiber cement is on the demonstration area, and the office portion is all glass.
Also, all the gray outside of the windows?
What's pattern is the fiber cement. What's just gray with the thin windows is the the concrete panel.
So based on the description of these boards, are they compliant?
That's for the Plan Commission's consideration.
And I'm sorry, please. You want me to go? Okay. Just one thing I didn't mention was Fabian's initial concept for the building was to express each component of the building distinctly. So the office reads as one kind of element, the warehouse as another, and the showroom, if you will, which it really is a showroom, demonstration area, the third component of that composition.
And also in regards to shared access with Woodlands, are there any changes that need to be incorporated between the two locations?
Changes not on the zoomed property. There is a resolution for the Plan Commission's consideration in the next agenda item that will address that.
Thank you.
Mayor, just to stay on John's, the point of the Swiss Pearl product, and you referred to Northwestern Mutual and the new building. What portion of that would be that product?
Oh, I'm sorry if I confused the situation. I wasn't trying to imply that they use this product. But a rain screen technique is really, it can be any number of materials that are visible. It could be metal cladding, it could be terracotta cladding, could be any number of materials. What it really isn't, it's designed to kind of breathe, actually. So the waterproof and the structural component of the wall is behind that. So yeah, I didn't mean to imply they use this material. They did not.
You have samples of these materials?
I can certainly provide those for review. I brought just what you see in front of you this evening.
And one more thing, Pat, to answer your question, the portion of the Cancer Center edition for Freighter, that wood look panel,
Right.
that was defined as a rain screen material. I'm not sure if it's entirely equivalent to what's being proposed here, but they did refer to it as a rain screen.
Okay.
It is actually very similar. We worked on that project. I wasn't personally involved, but it is a very similar product and technique.
Safe to assume that technique is being used more frequently?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, as we mentioned before, our code has recognized materials that are in the past. We have not updated our code to recognize advances in building material technologies, shall we say.
So obviously we could exert some flexibility in our choice.
And we have in the past.
Yes.
I mean, but the requirement for a 3/4 majority for the use of fiber cement
Covers
products,
that.
that's still in our code, so we still have to adhere to that. And just as an aside, we are updating our zoning code, so these things will be brought to the Plan Commission's attention for further consideration at a later date.
And Carrie brings up a good point. Over the last few years, particularly the last 15 years, building materials have changed and evolved, as well as techniques for installing them, and they're finding better, faster, more efficient products to use. Whether it's the Northwest Tower with the glass they do, the glass actually cools and heats the building at the same time, and they're getting into that stuff. So we do have to look at these different products. And again, Carrie kind of hit it right on there as building, you've heard of green manufacturing, it's leaner and more efficient, buildings going that way also. So, anyone to the left? Greg?
And thought I heard in kind of early discussions regarding the parking lot material to excuse me, to possibly match the pavers that we use out behind this building. Was there any thought to that, or is that any truth to that?
Well, I think there was perhaps not a lot of clarity from our discussions as to what that meant exactly. We are currently, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are currently not proposing a porous pavement. I'm correct about that, right? We did contemplate it as a means to help maybe mitigate some stormwater runoff, but we are well within, standard engineering practice and maybe even above it. So we're a little bit gun shy on that particular product because of just frankly from a cost perspective. So we are trying our best to kind of match the look and feel, but literally product for product, that is not what's being presented.
On. Ryan.
I'm good.
Oh,
I have one additional.
one more?
Yes. I believe it's for Carrie. So in regards to the setbacks, so this is being addressed possibly with council. So is there anything we need to include in the motion?
No, there's nothing you need to include. Whether or not that zoning change, the text amendment goes forward, the plans will be required to comply with the zoning district requirements. Having said that, do I anticipate that something like that will happen? No, I don't. The Plan Commission recommended approval. I have not gotten any feedback with regard to a negative aspect for it. So, but again, regardless, they would have to comply with the setback requirements.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll just throw my 2 cents in for what it's worth. As I said, the building actually is consistent of 3 components, the warehouse, the demonstration, and the office. I think this is one of the most unique buildings I've seen in a long, long time, and I see a lot of buildings come and go in my day job. Stand-up concrete panels, pretty much standard throughout the industry of what's going on. But with the spandrel windows and the breakup, this is probably one of the best tip-up concrete buildings I've seen in a long time. I really like the use of the glass, and the new product is as distinct as it is. We said we wanted to kind of make a statement and do something different. I think we're accomplishing it with this. I don't have a lot of reservation about the product, the Swiss Pro product, if that's what they intend to use. Different type of material, but again, the onus is on them, because if the water problem is going to happen, it's going to happen within their building. Freighter's used it. I want to say Sojourner Peace Center's used something similar to with their panels in the past over up in the north end of town. So I don't have any reservations for that. So again, parking, we'd love to see some sort of pavers in there one way or the other, but it's probably not going to be a deal breaker if it's the lead up sidewalk or something like that. I think the building's well laid out. It may be a really nice addition to what's going on, and I totally agree with the applicant. This is a great buffer going from a commercial office district to what leads over to Forest Hill, which is mainly manufacturing. You could not have blended it better than with this building. So that's all I have to say. I guess you guys know where I'm sitting on this. So anybody else, Chris? Nothing?
Looks great, unique. I think the entrance I really like. The entrance I like, and then combined with the Swiss Pearl panels, I'm really interested to see how those look. So looking forward to it. Welcome to Oak Creek.
Okay, I'm up for motion.
Orc moves that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plan submitted by Chris Nicholson, Zund America, Inc. for the property at 8142 South 6th Street with the following conditions. Number 1, that all building and fire codes are met. Number 2, that the plans are revised to include details for the proposed dumpster and generator enclosure, and that a more durable material such as composite is used for the gate. Number 3, that all revised plans, site, building, landscaping, etc., are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications. Number 4, that one monument sign per street frontage is approved. Detailed plans for signage shall be required prior to issuance of sign permits. Number 5, that all mechanical equipment, ground, building, and rooftop is screened from view. Number 6, that final lighting plans consistent with the standards for Drexel Town Square businesses indicating luminaire type, pole type, color, and height are submitted for final approval by the Director of Community Development upon written recommendation of the electrical inspector prior to submission of building permit applications. Number 7, that stormwater and grading plans are submitted for final approval by the engineering department prior to issuance of permits. And number 8, that all water and sewer utility connections are coordinated with the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
Kuzikowski will second.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Lorik, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Kroll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen, and again, welcome to Oak Creek. Thank you. Item D is consideration of review and consider Plan Commission Resolution Number 2017-08 approving the amended parking requirements for the Woodman's property at 8131 South Howell Carey.
This is what we were talking about briefly during the Zune review. This is with regard to the access, the shared access with Woodman's. Unfortunately, what's on your screen is still showing the Zune property, but it does incorporate the Woodman's property, which is immediately to the east. So what this is, a little bit of history. In 2006, the Plan Commission approved plans for Woodman's. As part of that approval, it was determined that based on the size of the building and the number of employees, there would be at least 1,050 parking spaces required to meet code. However, Woodman's proposed constructing only 725 of those spaces, citing past experience with other locations, and the Plan Commission was receptive to that. They also showed a future parking area, should that be necessary, on what is now the Zune property. In 2014, the Plan Commission adopted a resolution modifying that minimum requirement and removing the future parking area requirement based on observed patterns for traffic needs on the Woodman's property. In other words, the Plan Commission was satisfied that the 725 stalls was sufficient for Woodman's needs, and Woodman's was requesting that requirement be removed because they also felt that the 725 was adequate for their needs. With the Zune proposal, there is a cross-access easement that goes over the Woodman's property, and in order to gain that truck access onto the southeastern portion of the building that has the loading dock area, that required the elimination of 10 parking stalls, up to 10 parking stalls on the Woodman's property. So what's before the Plan Commission tonight is consideration of a resolution that would further amend the previously adopted resolution saying that the removal of up to 10 parking spots on the Woodman's property is acceptable, and that Woodman's is requesting it because they feel that the removal of up to 10 parking stalls on their property would not negatively affect their parking needs for their store. So if there are any questions with that, I can try and answer them, but the resolution is, again, acknowledging that removal of about up to 10 parking stalls on the Woodman's property is okay, and there is no requirement for a future parking area. If the Plan Commission is comfortable with that, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission adopt resolution number 2017-08, modifying parking requirements for the Woodman's Food Market at 8131 South Howell Avenue to require a minimum of 715 parking stalls. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. That was a pretty clear explanation, I think.
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right. If anybody else got questions? Fred's raring to go. Okay, Fred, go.
Okay, Seifert moves that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2017-08, modifying parking requirements for the Woodman's Food Market at 8131 South Howell Avenue to require a minimum of 715 parking spaces.
Chandler,
Guzekowski.
second.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Clark, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Guzekowski.
Earl, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Mr. Mayor, there is a copy up there for your signature.
Okay. Item E, sign reviews submitted by Franklin Oak Creek Joint School District for high school property at 340 East Putes. All right, Pete.
All right, my turn. As the mayor said, that the applicant is requesting approval of one ground sign located at 340 East Putes Road. This sign will replace what is already existing along Putes Road in front of the high school. Up on the screen right now is what the existing sign is. They'll be removing that and replacing it with a sign similar to what was created on the corner of Howell and Putes. Per code, Plan Commission does have to review all signs in institutionally zoned parcels, so that is why this is here tonight. The proposed sign does conform with the I-1 design standards for signs, so nothing out of the ordinary right here, but this is a requirement prior to a sign permit being issued. With that said, staff suggests that the Plan Commission approve the sign plan for the Oak Creek Senior High School at 340 East Putes Road as presented.
All right, thank you, Pete. Any questions for Pete? I think we did an upgrade here.
That's good.
Anything, Brian?
I don't know if the applicant's here. My only concern is the size of the letters of the LED sign. Do you know how big those are?
Name and address, please.
Luke Christofferson. I'm with VJS Construction. Address is 4340 East Putes. LED letters can be anywhere from 2 to, I believe, 11 inches, depending on the font size that they choose on the LED sign, right?
As you can see from the existing picture, the changeable message board, those letters are pretty small. Being able to actually see those going down the road is kind of a challenge. So you can get too much information on those LED boards, like a 2-inch letter. You wouldn't be able to read that at 40 miles an hour down Putes Road. So it's not an issue with the sign at all. Just clarifying that they need to make sure that the signs are actually legible once they start using them.
Point well taken.
I have a question. So is this sign similar to the high school sign for 9th grade? Is it the same, the LED part, that space, is it the
It's
exact same size?
Everything is exactly the same. Basically, just taking that sign and replicating it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Motion?
Seibert moves that the planning commission approve the sign plan for Oak Creek Senior High School at 340 East Putes Road.
Chandler, seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Clark, aye. Bekavich, aye.
Guzekowski.
Earl, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
And F, plan sign review for a proposed master sign plan submitted by John Ardini, Eve Cap, Oak Creek LLC for the property located at 120 West Town Square Way. Pete?
All right, as we always do for sign plans in Drexel Town Square, a master plan is always required to be approved by Plan Commission prior to any tenant presenting a sign plan for their specific tenant space. And included in your packet is the site plan as well as elevation drawings of the 3 buildings that are being proposed for this site. And we'll just go building by building. But before I do that, let's talk about the ground sign. They are proposing to have one ground sign. The ground sign is compliant with the DTS zoning district sign standards, has been approved by 1 West Drexel. It's very similar to what is already existing for multi-tenant buildings found in DTS. It has the address, the Drexel logo, the same colored base. Everything is in compliance. The 6 tenant spaces, we're counting for the 6 spaces that will be available for the buildings once they are built. There are no secondary signs. If you require with secondary signs, those are the flag signs. Nothing's being proposed at this time. It is allowed on an entry facade if they were to change and want to add those, they would have to come before Plan Commission for approval. Next, I'll show you the site plan. As you recall, every time we have a sign plan review, I always say that you're allowed to have one wall sign per entrance facade. And so we just wanted to point out where the entrances are for Building 1. We'll start on the north side. There is an entrance to the north. Let's see if my cursor matches my laptop. So this will allow a sign to be on the north elevation of the building. There is an entrance on the west side as well as the south side, so they will be able to have a wall sign facing the parking lot as well as the patio area to the south. Because this commercial area is on the outer perimeter, there is an allowance to have a sign on a special condition facade that either faces Drexel or Howell. Since this does face Howell, they would be allowed to have a sign actually on the east elevation as well facing Howell. So Building 1 will actually have 4 wall signs. This is designed to be a one tenant space, so it will be most likely the same type of sign on all 4 sides of that building. They are proposing 36-inch tall sign that is, the size is equal to the linear feet of the entry facade, exceeding no more than 100 square feet or 20% of that wall space, similar to what is always allowed in other developments in DTS. In Building 2, it's a 2-tenant space. Once again, they'll have entrances on, and this one on the north and the west. So this tenant space, it's actually going to be carved into 3 spaces. So the northern tenant space will have one on the west, on the north, and as well as the east. The middle tenant would be able to have a sign above the entrance doors on the west as well as the side on the east. South tenant is going to have an entrance on the west and the south, so they'll have 3 signs. So there's going to be quite a bit of signage. It is in compliance with the way we've written it. The applicant has modified their site plan to allow for additional entrances, knowing that that was the rule within DTS code. And as for the south building, you'll see again entrances both on the west and the north, so they can have a sign on the west and the north, and then also the special condition facade on the east. Same thing goes on the southern portion of Building 3, entrance, and then special condition facade. Included in your packet are the criteria that they have outlined. Those criteria are in compliance with the DTS standards. So we don't have any graphics of potential because there's nothing confirmed at this point. However, when a tenant does come, they will come before you to show you what it is that they are going to put on the building. Also, right now there aren't any eye-level signs being proposed, but in the master plan, they do realize that it cannot cover more than 10% of the glazing. You're only allowed 1 eye-level sign per for every 12 linear feet of frontage. They do know that can only be on an entrance facade. So those will be seen on the west side and then also the interior to the patio areas. There'll be no eye-level signs on the glazing facing Howell Avenue. Again, when a tenant comes forward, they'll be proposing their eye-level signs, their primary signs in addition. And just to backtrack a little bit to the ground sign, I did not show where on the site it's going to be, but it's going to be in the northeast corner is where that monument sign is going to be. It has to be in line closer to the building due to easements of this development. With that said, staff does recommend that the Plan Commission approve the master sign plan for the multi-tenant commercial buildings at 120 West Town Square Way. Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you, Pete. Interesting, a lot of signage. I mean, in compliance, but a lot of signage. I'm surprised they're putting them over the patio sections between the buildings, but again, they are in compliance and it is their choice.
Now, keep in mind, this is the master plan. A tenant might say, yeah, it's great that you got all 4 sides, but I'm not spending, how many thousands of dollars to put a sign on all 4 sides. However, when the tenant does come, they'll be asking for it, whatever signage. It may be all 4 sides, it may be only 2. It's up to each individual tenant. So, and who knows what the size of those signs are going to be. They may be a 40-foot square foot sign like Potbelly's looks like. So it's not going to be IKEA type sign on the side of the building. It's, it's still going to be to scale with the size of that building.
Still a lot of signs on the building.
Yeah, but again, the way they set up the building separately with the patio, they did a different type of building. Actually, I like the setup with the patios. Yeah, I completely agree with you, but I also see Pete's point of view when it comes to cost of building and you go to a sign company and all of a sudden you're gonna have 4 signs made. Yeah, might not happen. Again, comments, Dawn?
There's no way to count this as one building. There's no way to count this as one building because it's one site?
No, each is an individual building, just like we have when, you know, you have a commercial site with multiple buildings, each one gets their own sign allowances.
And the entrance.
And, you know, typically, you know, we've had it where entrances are typically one side. We so happen to have an applicant who has taken into consideration our standards and figured, you know what, we can design our buildings to have 3 entrances. Originally, there wasn't going to be on building 1 an entrance on the north side. But now they designed their building to have that customer sign. So there is the potential that, say a tenant goes in there, that door is only going to be used as emergency egress. It's not going to be available to customers. Then they're not going to be able to go on that north side. So could potentially be the build out won't make it suitable for it. But the way that the developer is designing these buildings, that there's going to be 3 entrances, customer entrances. That's why there's the walkway on the north and the south side to accommodate that. But there could be very well the chance that it would not be maximized to have 4 signs on all sides.
We will have a say, we will see what they will look like. The
Each tenant
logos.
space, yes. And, you know, if they meet, you know, the height and the size standards and the design, you know, if they comply, I mean, they will be able to do that. That's why the developer proposed the sign plan the way they did. They designed the entrances the way they did to maximize their ability to do it. So they're not asking for any variances.
Right.
They're working within the rules that we have established.
4 signs plus a monument sign on that north building. They're going to sell a lot of something.
It's gonna look bad.
You know, we you know, when we create our design guidelines, we always try to figure out a way to, you know, control or to limit. And, you know, there are ways to work within everything that we think is possible. And these individuals figured out a way that to stay within code and propose what they did. I mean, it's kind of unexpected. You know, typically you have strip malls, they're usually just one long strip, not 3 separated buildings. So we do have a unique development compared to your traditional strip malls. So that's why we're getting this kind of thing. We can never anticipate a 3-building strip mall. It's different than what we normally see in commercial development. Couldn't foresee this.
Again, we'll see what it brings. That's all you can do. So, move.
Carl moves the
One
commission.
second, Pat.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Do we have any regulations on where the monument sign goes? Or they can put that any place? We can't say put that over on Town Square Way.
They're allowed, Drexel Town Square is allowed to have a primary ground sign along there, plus a secondary ground sign, so they could actually have 2. But they're just proposing the one along Howell Avenue.
Just like with the high school sign. I don't know if anybody's tried to read the signs that are on the monument signs for DTS. You can't read them from Howell. So that monument sign, you'll read it if you're walking on the sidewalk, but driving up and down Howell, you're not going to read that sign. You'll be able to see the building.
I'm surprised they want to spend that money if they're going to have that much signage on the building.
Yeah.
And that could change. They're just asking if they can have it. I think hopefully they'll realize that because it's not going to do them.
The tenants will be so awesome that they won't need the signage.
Hopefully. Hey, valid point. Looks like overkill.
Very much so. Okay, carry on, Pat.
Corral moves that the commission approves the master sign plan for the multi-tenant commercial buildings at 120 West Town Square Way.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye. Gavich, aye.
Zukowski, aye.
Kroll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
And that gets us to adjournment.
Grillo adjourned, motions to adjourn at 7:44.
Work seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Zukowski, aye.
Kroll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
I want to thank everybody that tuned in. I want to thank the staff. Very good job tonight. Very pleasant meeting. You guys were well prepared as always. Thank our IT guy. He did a wonderful job as always. Again, please get out there, experience, explore, celebrate, and discover Oak Creek. Thanks. Good night. See you next week at council.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in case we.
Oh, yes. Is this our last plan meeting for the year?
Yes.
And everybody, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We will see you in 2018. Wish everybody a healthy, happy holiday.